Hey guys, welcome back. You know what time it is. It's 40 for 40. I'm turning 40 this year and I'm sharing with you 40 of my favorite films of all time, some of the best films ever made. I think this is a film that we all could agree on is one of the best films ever made. Uh, and definitely, I feel like this was a long time coming. It had to happen. Uh, Make sure to click that subscribe button. But we're going to get into Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2. I'm just kidding. We're not going to get into that. That movie's fucking terrible. We're going to get into The Dark Knight. I've seen Super Babies. I get to say that. I used to work at a movie theater. I used to have to screen movies. And I was in charge of screening Super Babies. I've seen it. It's terrible. So, but The Dark Knight is amazing. Um, and is one of my favorite films of all time. I've seen this so many times where I actually stopped counting. But I did watch this again. I actually watched this. This was my first time watching with audio description. In my blindness, I've watched this without audio description because I've seen this film so many times. It's one of those films where I put it in, and I'm like, yep, I know what's happening right now. Even though it's just like sound effects. Like, I still feel like I've seen this film so many times where I'm just like, yeah, mm-hmm. And he's driving, and this is where, yep, and he opens up the back of the van, and he's got the, it's so, everything is just so familiar to me. So, I do love watching films with audio description, though. That's why I'm here, is to try to advance the medium and to try to get on every film. I want everything described. This is currently on HBO Max. And, of course, it is, because that's where the DC films are. So, this does have audio description. I believe all three of Nolan's films have audio description. So you can watch the whole trilogy. I just watched The Dark Knight. And my first thought about the audio description, just to start off at the top before I get into the film, because once I get into the film, it's just going to be a bunch of babbling about, and just like, I'll be put on some sort of list of people who can't be within 10 feet of Chris Nolan. But to talk about the audio description, I thought it was good. It does... I think it's probably older audio description anyway, so to talk about defaulting, I don't think this film... I tried to remember, and I was trying to pay attention to defaulting. There aren't a lot of non-white characters in the film to begin with, and I don't think it makes a point of pointing out anybody's race. I actually don't remember them saying, a large black man moves his fox. I don't remember them saying any of that. Maybe it was there, maybe it wasn't, but I think everybody was just sort of like, we're here, I'm a character, and I am transcendent of any race. And therefore the descriptions were kind of like, if you didn't know who these characters were, or you don't know who these actors look like, I don't know that they were great. I don't know they were great character descriptions. It is a sequel, and I would have to watch Batman Begins to know necessarily is this a thing. But I think even with some of the new characters newer to the film, like Harvey Dent, and like the Joker gets described because of his makeup. I will say that. And his scars and everything. So he gets pretty good description. But Harvey Dent, at the beginning, when you see him, he's just like a guy. Like, I wouldn't even know how to describe them. Like, if someone was like, how do you describe Harvey Dent? I'd be like, I don't know, attractive, average build male, white male. Like, done. He's wearing a suit. I mean, he's so average looking at the very beginning. Like, it's his character description would just, that'd be it. And I don't even know if it would be that great. I don't know how to really talk that much about Aaron Eckhart and be like, his cheeks are a little bit of rouge on the cheeks, and he's got a nice strong chin, and like I don't know how to describe Aaron Eckhart as a person, because he looks like you could be lost in a crowd. It's one of the reasons why Aaron Eckhart constantly feels like he's second fiddle in like almost everything, and he's he keeps missing out on awards nominations, is because he is kind of like everybody. He just kind of walks into a room. I bet he grocery shops and people just don't stop him. I bet he just walks into rooms and they're like, I think that guy's famous. I feel like I've seen him in something before. He just kind of has that vibe. So there's that. My biggest problem with it was the balancing. It really just, I don't think it was mixed well. The audio description just, in certain points, I get it, it's describing things, but it just totally dominates the soundtrack. Luckily, it never does it over dialogue, but there are some times where there's like action sequences happening, and it's really hard to even hear a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's actually hard to hear like fight sequences happening because like there's like you're just hearing audio description. It transcends everything. It was so much louder than the film itself. I would maybe check the balance. That would be my single note. My biggest note for that would be that, and then maybe character description would be my second note. Do a better job of that, and don't assume that everybody knows. However, what I was going to say is with the Star Wars films, I noticed that their character descriptions are based on the order that they want you to watch them. Like, characters get better description in the first film you see them in. So somebody did all the narration for the films at the same time. And so if you watch them out of order, I watched it in chronological order in terms of how you're supposed to watch it. Like, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, episode 5, episode 6. I noticed there were some characters that had appeared in 4, 5, and 6 that were in 1, 2, and 3, like Yoda, that when they appeared, it was like, Yoda's here. Cool. And then you get to the film where Yoda actually gets his audio description when Luke meets him for the first time, and he's well described. So the thing is, it's like they assume you're going to watch all of the Star Wars films, but they want you to watch it 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9 in the order of release. So, yeah, that's how the audio description works for that. So, it's possible that in Batman Begins, Bruce is well described, Lucius is well described, Alfred is well described. Maybe they just didn't want to draw attention to the Rachel recasting, and they just left because her character was in the first one, and so they were like, well, Rachel was in the first film, so we're not gonna, I don't know, but I feel like the character descriptions could have been a little bit stronger for these people. But then again, I have to watch Batman Begins to officially be able to make that statement, because if that's what it is, then it's just Star Wars. They're just doing the Star Wars thing. Now to talk about the film, I love The Dark Knight. Obviously, it's 40 for 40. This isn't just like a top 40. This isn't just like a top 100 for me. It's like a top 10. We're up here. We're way up here in the weeds for me. Dark Knight is a film that when people ask me what are my favorite films of all time, what is my favorite film of all time, Dark Knight constantly floats up into that conversation of where I'm willing to say that sentence out loud. I feel like it's a little cliche. I feel like people look at me and they go, oh, he's an overweight 40-year-old white male nerd wearing nerd shirts, so of course he likes The Dark Knight. It's like, I don't immediately like every comic book movie. I can make a list of comic movies I don't like. So it's not a nerd thing. I can make a list of films that blow your mind that I like. Like, we can get into it. I mean, I've put some films in my 40 for 40 already. But if you really want to get into like how much I love It's Complicated with Meryl Streep and Alec Baldwin, like, let's do it. So if you think I'm just a fanboy, you are so wrong. But I think this is a great crime thriller. I think this is well paced. It feels very real. It doesn't feel like a comic book. It feels like Nolan watched Heat and was like, I can do that and do it better. You know, it feels like this game of cat and mouse to the extreme level with fantastic performances. I wish we were... See, now we're at a point where we accept films like The Dark Knight as being Oscar-worthy. Back then, it was like, well, I guess we'll give it to Heath Ledger because he was brilliant, and now he's dead. And unfortunately, it stopped. Like, nothing else got nominated. It didn't get in a picture. You know, Christian Bale's never been nominated for playing this role. Aaron Eckhart is brilliant as Harvey Dent. He really is. There are other performances that are really great in this film. So many other things about this film that should have turned it into a juggernaut, that years later, you know, we gave tons of nominations to Mad Max Fury Road and to Dune and Black Panther. You know, I always say the reason we have 10 Best Picture nominees is because the Academy fucked up and didn't give Dark Knight a Best Picture nomination. And it was so obviously egregious that they rewrote the book on voting to 10, because for some reason people could not be bothered to vote for a major blockbuster, and also that blockbuster could possibly be technically great. This has a fantastic score. The scenes are great when they're transporting Mr. Lau through the streets. You know, that is a fantastic, it's a terrific chase scene. You know what I'm saying? And it's not Mr. Lau. Sorry, it's Harvey Dent. It's the Harvey Dent transport. Mr. Lau is when they take him out of jail. When they're transporting Harvey Dent, and Joker's trying to get to Harvey because he thinks Harvey is Batman. And all of a sudden, here comes Batman into the equation, but he can't save Harvey in time. The moment when, you know, it's between Harvey and Rachel, and Batman thinks he's about to save Rachel, and it's Harvey, and we all think he's about to save Rachel. It is so heartbreaking to watch Rachel die like that, to just know that, I mean, it's so game-changing to lose Rachel just all of a sudden in an explosion, like mid-sentence. She's like mid-sentence too. I don't know. I love Morgan Freeman and Lucius Fox when he has that moment with Bruce where they talk about how his program is being used, and Bruce is just like, yep, I just needed to do this one time, and then you can by all means please terminate it, delete it, and walk away. You know, he's like, I'm sorry I had to do it, I'm sorry it had to come to this, but I don't know how else to find him, I don't know how else to capture him. You know, it's sort of like Bruce is defeated a little bit, and he has to play by a different rule. It's always been the thing about the Dark Knight is that he is who they need to be. It's when he talks about am I a hero or am I a villain? I am what the city needs me to be. He's like, I can be those things. And this is one of those moments where I don't think Lucius fully understands that what Bruce is saying is, I know what I'm doing here. I know that I'm crossing the moral boundary, but I'm not doing it for the reasons that you think that I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I really feel like I've been bested. I think that's the one time in the film where Bruce, who doesn't like to do things, you know, that are illegal, or, you know, he doesn't run around with guns for a reason. You know, he's not the Punisher. There are lines that he doesn't like to cross, and I feel like this is a line that he knows he's crossing, and that's that conversation he has with Lucius, and it's the one time that the Joker kind of got him. You know, is that Bruce finally had to cross a line somewhere to get to this point. You know, I mean, he stops Harvey from beating up the paranoid schizophrenic because he's like, you're not going to get anything out of this. He's trying all along the way to continue to sort of be his moral center, but then he has to spy on everybody and try to ping things so that he can get a location on the Joker before the Joker kills somebody else. So it's it really is. It's a compelling film, full of compelling performances. I think it is better than the other two Batman films, although I love all the Batman films that Nolan did. This one, just to me, and it's not because Ledger died. If Ledger was still out there walking around today, I think a lot of people would just keep congratulating him on his performance. They'd be like, "Dude, you were amazing as the Joker." You know, I kind of wonder where his career would have gone after this, because I kind of feel like he left it all on the floor. But some actors do that, and they leave it all out on the floor a couple of times in their career. But I think people who didn't take Heath Ledger seriously at the beginning of his career, this was the moment. You know, you had a glimmer of it in Brokeback Mountain, but then Dark Knight came along, and you were like, well, yep, this isn't just the guy from 10 Things I Hate About You who's, you know, good looking and singing songs. No, this guy's the real deal. He's in it to win it. You know, he's got it. And it's sad that this film is associated with a mass shooting. It's sad that this film forever changed the landscape of Aurora, Colorado. And it's sad that this film changed the way we screen movies, like midnight screenings, security in movie theaters, everything. It's like suddenly, but that's the same thing that's been happening with more and more mass shootings, is suddenly it's like a new place that we thought was safe is no longer safe because somebody managed to make that place not safe anymore. And, you know, for some reason we're complacent with it being our kids' schools, and, you know, then became a movie theater, and hasn't even been the only movie theater shooting. There have been other movie theater shootings since then. So it's, you know, but this is the one that everybody remembers, the Dark Knight shooting, because the guy decided to dress up like the fucking Joker, and it's attached, it's forever tarnished, even so slightly, it's always tarnished the Dark Knight just a little bit, even just a little bit. It's like now we look back at films with some of these that are either like maybe produced by Harvey Weinstein, and then we have to see his name in the opening credits. You know, it's still a great film. It's like, God, it's a Harvey Weinstein production. You know, it's like there's something now that even though the film is great and perfect and there's nothing wrong with it, and all of the people who are involved in creating this work should be able to celebrate it, it's like now there's this thing that kind of broke it, and I hate that, and I've always hated that. And I was working in theaters when this happened, and I saw the changes we started making. Midnight screenings started kind of drifting away. We even had a 3 a.m. showing of The Dark Knight. This was, you know, this is sort of when it started changing. This came out a little bit after Spider-Man 3, when my theater did 24 hours of Spider-Man 3. And kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore. This is when they transitioned to Thursdays. Now films open at like 6 p.m., 5 p.m., 4 p.m. on a Thursday. So instead of theaters needing to stay open at midnight to have midnight screenings, you can see it now just Thursday night in the previews. And that's where things live now. So this is a great film, one of my favorites of all time. I'm really happy that I got to actually say that out loud as part of 40 for 40. And, yeah, I mean, I've already rambled about this. This is one of those films that don't get me started because I will not shut up for 2 hours. So I have to cut this off at some point. Anyway, props to everyone involved. This is just such a triumph, such an achievement, and I still loved it, even blind. It does help because it brings back the images that I saw this film so many times that I feel like I can see everything, and it really does try to do things, and the audio description makes an effort. You know, I mean, when Two-Face, when that reveal about the other side of his face happens, you know, it's there. They try to say he's like horribly disfigured. I mean, I don't know how you actually like break into the fact that he has like his eyeball is like kind of popping out of the socket. It's really hard to say just how disfigured he is, but it's, yeah. I'm giving The Dark Knight an A+. I would give it like an A++. Plus. Plus. I don't know. I just keep adding pluses. We're going to create a new letter to the alphabet, and we're going to put that in front of A, and it's going to be that. It's going to be. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, please click subscribe. I need as many followers as possible so that we can keep talking about audio description, so I can get it on titles. When I review a film that doesn't have audio description, I would love for people to hear it. But also I want people to know that audio description is out there and we watch it, and blind people love cinema too. So I have a website, macmovieguy.com. I am on Twitter, Instagram, and now Threads at Mac the Movie Guy. So just follow me on one of those platforms. You can also go to the Audio Description Project, adp.acb.org, and you can look up the list of films and see what has audio description and where you can watch it. And the ADNA.org will let you know who is describing the films. Favorite films and television series. So that's it. That's my review for the day. I will review something else and see you guys on the other side. Just remember, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.